Hello and welcome to Clipping In. Saturday the 2nd of November. Too late for Halloween, but it can bring you the fog. Greasy roads, mist, might be thinning slightly, mild temperatures continuing. Usually at this time of year, light winds, high temperatures, plenty of humidity, always breaks down into this kind of thing. It can be fog bound for days on end. Forecast for next week, even starting from tomorrow, does not look good, so who knows what to expect. For today I've just picked a local circuit, the faithful Hollins-Carr Hill circuit, and that way if it thickens up I can be home inside 20 odd minutes, and if it brightens up it's a nice hilly circuit anyway. So you know, I can't promise stunning views, I can't promise any of that, but you know, I think we're past the point now in the year where you can apologise for filming on bad weather days, and you've just got to take your opportunities and get out. Yeah, the mist is definitely lighter than it was half an hour ago. If we look in that direction, you might even see part of Emily Moor through the grey murkiness. But again, I've said it lots of times, but sometimes when you look around on cycling YouTube, you see what I can only describe as a greatest hits compilation. You know, everything is longer or faster or more spectacular or more exotic. Everybody's either absolutely on their A game and giving it everything, or they're smiley happy people. And I think autumn winter cycling round here at least is slightly different to that, not quite as curated. It's a corking little hill circuit, this one, climbing Cliff Hollins Lane just to the edge of East Byley, cutting across Toft Shore and eventually descending Milcar Hill. It's about 4¼ miles with roughly 500 feet of climbing per lap. I know if I do 10 laps, not today, I've got about 5,000 feet in 43 miles. Right, I might have to put this away. That section is about 16%, and you get a bit of a breather, falls flat, and then it kicks again where that yellow van is up the hill there. It's a circuit that I used to train on in the old days, and with that kind of climb, there's certainly, you know, I used to do varied cadence stuff, spinning, standing, pushing, ideal for that. And another advantage, in deep winter, I think the highest point on this circuit is maybe 600 or 700 feet, so you can get below a lot of the weather that afflicts the high Pennines at winter, which is another big bonus. Once or twice I've done this circuit on a mountain bike with snow banked up either side. Atmospheric. It's a circuit that, yeah, it's more of more of a training outing than a ride for pleasure and leisure. And nowadays, yeah, I'm a potterer, so I ride this as steadily as possible. I've discovered what the gear lever's for. But I still think at this time of year you've got to be realistic, and as I've said before, with this greatest hits impression that you get where it's all, you know, Mallorca or Tenerife and exotic places with favourable climates, you can't match that on a day-by-day basis, and that really gives you a stark choice between indoor training on Zwift or this, or I suppose the third option is to do something else, cross-training, if you're running or gymming. Is that a verb? That's your other option, I suppose. Given that today it's starting to lift and there is a hint of sun in the offing, we might turn out onto a winner here. Roads are a bit muddy because there's a lot of building foundation work going on. Old railway line there, you can see remains of a bridge. I'll find that on the map. One of the old network of lines that was lost at some point in the 60s, I imagine. You can see here Greenfield Lane as it turns into Hollins-Carr Hill eventually. Another part of that disused railway line. I often say that there's an important distinction to be made between conditions for cycling that are unpleasant and those that are unsafe. And I think ultimately only you can draw that line, because everyone has their own set of values, set of criteria and so on. And whereas some people are fine going out in thick fog or gale force winds or, you know, rain that's bouncing off the road, or snow or all the rest, other people are not. And therefore it's important not to be, what's the word, bullied into going out when you personally don't feel safe. You know, it's the easiest thing in the world to say, go on, get outside, real cycling. But sometimes, you know, your spider sense is tingling and you say, no, I really don't fancy this. And even if everybody that you know is out, but you play safe and you go on the turbo or whatever VR environment you favour, you've done what you feel's right. And I think that's important, because speaking from experience, I had winters where I had some terrible accidents, broken bones, long layoffs, and it all came from that idea of go on, get out. 4 hours outside, it's a lot better than 2 hours on the turbo, you know, whatever. And something that might look good on Strava, there wasn't any Strava in those days, but something that might look good on Strava or elsewhere, you can say, oh, I did 4 hours, I went up so and so. If you do have an accident, you're the one that has to go through all the recovery and rehab, and you're the one who has to pay it all back. And even if it's not that serious a fall, you're the one who you're playing catch up then, if you are trying to get fit for some kind of spring or summer objective. You're the one who's stuck inside waiting to even be well enough and fit enough to get on the turbo again. So it's an important distinction, and like I said, it's individual, and sometimes you've just got to be the one who says, don't fancy this. I remember reading years ago the great Italian racing cyclist of the 40s and 50s, Fausto Coppi, Il Campionissimo, wouldn't go out training in the fog. And that struck me as quite a policy really, because that was in the days before professionals had the advantage of warm weather training camps as we see now. Nowadays they just follow the weather. That didn't happen back then. Maybe south of France, Mediterranean coast, but I think even that was a few years away from becoming a regular thing. So for a super endurance athlete who used to really pack the miles in, to have that kind of a policy, not training in the fog, left a mark. Good enough for Fausto, good enough for me. Fausto Coppi being, many Italians will tell you, the greatest racing cyclist of all time. The Belgians might disagree, but a little bit greasy, but certainly the Italians would have you still believe that he was the greatest of all time. There's an argument for it, and this is not the time or the place, but there is an argument for it. Signing off time, going to be just short of 2 hours. No idea mileage wise, doesn't really matter, does it? It's 2 hours that I might not have done otherwise. And I would imagine the climbing figures will be quite interesting, maybe somewhere approaching 2.4, 2.5 feet. I've no idea with this weather forecast. Whoops, let's get over the rumblers. Right, cleared the rumble strips. They're quite slippery today. Everything's quite slippery today. I've no idea when the next clipping in video will be, to be honest, because I mean I can do these kinds of pedal and chat in bad weather till the cows come home, but I sort of feel the core is getting out into bigger country and staring at the views in wonderment. And there's not going to be a lot of that if the forecast's right over the next week or so. Maybe I'll even resort to some indoor videos. There's been a few requests for spotlights on bikes and equipment and racing wheels from the old days, even synthesizers, which takes us back to John Carpenter. We can't get away from him. So what I'll do for this edition of Clipping In, I'll sign off for now and see you at some point back out on the Yorkshire roads. Bye bye.